Hey there, this is Karl, and I'm selling something you don't need, but I don't really care that you don't need it because I need to sell it. How's that for a sales script? I hope you're saying, that was a horrible sales script. What are you talking about? Today we're going to talk about sales scripts. Welcome to episode 17 of the Cheeky Sales Coach. The word of the day today is obviously a phrase, sales script. A sales script is simply the written text that you use to begin talking about the sales process. You will, within your sales script, have a pitch, and the sales script you start out with will change almost immediately. Here are 6 or 7 things you need to know about sales scripts. Thing 1 is one of our golden rules. Remember, most of the time, most of the people don't need what you're selling. Don't take this as a negative thing or a challenge or something that you have to overcome. Accept it as a fact. Be in Zen with the universe. Acknowledge that most of the people don't need what you want, and then understand what that means when you go out and start talking to people. So your sales script might be related to a phone call or knocking on doors or walking into people's offices, but it's probably going to be a phone call or a Zoom call type operation. When you talk to people, you need to instantly determine whether or not they need what you're selling. Think about this. Let's say you drive down your street and you look at all the roofs. How many of the roofs in your neighborhood need to be replaced? So if you're a roof salesperson, okay, you might find a few that need some tiles here and there. In other words, they need a little repair, but they don't need a new roof. Assuming a roof lasts, let's say, 30 years, most people don't need a roof most of the time. But their roof deteriorates a little bit over the years. And so maybe once every 30 or 35 years, they do actually need a roof. If somebody's got a brand new roof, you cannot sell them a new roof. Period. That's just the way the world works. It's not anything about you as a salesperson. It's not a negative reflection on your products or your services or your company. It just is what it is. So don't spend energy trying to sell something that people don't need. Thing number 2, there are 3 kinds of fits. First of all, there's a perfect fit. You say, hey, I'm calling about this and that. You want to buy some? And they said, yes, absolutely. Let me get my credit card as quickly as possible. That almost never happens. In fact, in terms of probabilities, the probability of that is less than 1%. It is microscopic. In fact, if you take it as a piece of the pie, the piece is so thin you can't even see a slice. It's like just the width of the knife. Option number 2, far more likely. This is a total misfit today. It doesn't mean it's always going to be a misfit, but today there will be no sale. You can't make it happen. Nothing you say is going to make it happen. Any time you spend talking to a misfit is a complete waste of your time and theirs. My advice, take a misfit and instantly say, hey, can I just keep you on my mailing list and then I'll let you go? Yes? Okay, great. Give me your email. Have a nice day. Boom, done. The 3rd type of person you're going to contact is the people who are willing to have a conversation. And the truth is, this is your actual audience. You cannot say my audience is the whole world. Yes, the whole world needs hamburger. Yes, the whole world needs a roof at some point. But the people who are willing to have a conversation today are the people that you might actually be able to make a sale with. And again, remember my strategy. I'm not in favor of trying to make a sale the first time you have a conversation with somebody. If you stop making that your goal and you say, what I want to do is start a conversation, then there's lots of juicy goodness in people who say, tell me about that. Thing number 3, don't say stupid stuff. I know this sounds obvious, but if you listen to sales calls, it must not be that obvious. Most sales calls, sales scripts, are going to have a branch. For example, you might start by asking, are you the decision maker? If they say no, well then you need to follow up with, how do I get a hold of the decision maker? If they say yes, don't say something stupid like, would you like to save money? Would you like to have more customers? Would you like to be more successful? Those are manipulative questions to which the answer can only be, absolutely, I want to have more money, I want to have more customers, I want to be more successful. And the person on the other end of the line knows that you are intentionally trying to manipulate them. So you've already started out by having some negative energy between yourself and your prospect. Don't do that, because at the end of the day, it really is stupid. Thing number 4, don't waste your time trying to convince people to buy right now when they just don't want to. If people are not going to buy, they're not going to buy. Why would you waste your energy trying to convince somebody of something when they've already said no to you? Again, this falls into this old school view of sales that says the world consists of a series of objections. When I knock out all of the objections, the only thing that's left is a yes. That's just not true. One of the biggest things that's changed in sales in the 21st century is knowledge. Even in 1990, the last 10 years of the last century, we did not all have massive and excellent access to knowledge. Today, everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a computer, everybody has an iPad, everybody can find out everything they need to know. And so you, as the salesperson, no longer live in a world where you have some mystical knowledge that other people don't have. So stop pretending you do and don't go down that road. When people are interested in having a conversation, then you need to engage them in a conversation. But when people have already said no, it's my opinion, you are just wasting your time trying to get them from a no to a yes. It's much easier to get people from a maybe to a yes, or a, well, let's talk, to a yes. Thing number 5, keep it simple. One of my favorite stories I've told many, many times is about my friend Dave. My friend Dave came to me one time when I was running an IT consulting business, and he said, I have a client who's too big for me and I need your help. And I said, tell me about this. And he said, well, they've got 70 desktops and they hired me last year and we redid all the desktops. We redid the network, we reconfigured their internet connections, so forth and so on. But now they need to replace their server and I don't feel comfortable trying to figure out what kind of server to sell into an office with 70 people. And my first question was, Dave, how did you sell a client with 70 desktops? And his response was genius. He said, well, what I do is I take my business cards and I pick a neighborhood with a bunch of businesses in it and I go door to door to door and I hand the receptionist my card and I say, is there anybody here who wants to talk about technology? That's it. 99% of the time the answer is no, but every once in a while the answer is yes. And so in this particular case, the woman who was in charge of the computer said, yeah, I want to talk about technology. We've got some issues and we want to do this and this and that and that and that. And he said, oh, we can do this, we can do this. And so he got himself essentially, not quite a full-time job, but he got a client that was able to use his services for a year before they exceeded what he felt comfortable providing as services, with the simple tagline, is there anybody here who wants to talk about technology? You see, This is the point of having a conversation-based sales script. His sales script was one sentence, one question. And he got himself a monster client. So if you want to hook a whale, start simple. Thing number 6, have a two-pronged approach. So I'm a real believer that you have two approaches at the same time. One is you have the long play, which is have a mailing list, have an email list, have a newsletter, have an ongoing conversation with your prospects, because if they don't need your services today, and most of them don't, they may need your services or they will need your services someday. And so when someday comes, you need to be top of mind. The two-pronged approach, which is harder to say than you can imagine, the two-pronged approach is very straightforward. Have the ongoing conversation that never ends, that is education focused, that is about keeping people interested, keeping people engaged, giving information. And then also the second prong is be ready to grab immediate opportunities. As you're going along your long-term approach, education, information, and somebody says, hey, can you give me a second opinion? Yes. Can you get me a quote? Yes. Can you come and talk to me about this project? Yes. So do the long play, but constantly be asking the question, can I help you today? Can I help you today? Can I help you today? That two-pronged approach will do miracles for your long-term sales. Finally, thing number 7, you need to fine-tune essentially forever. So your sales script will change over time. It'll change with your offer. It will change with the time of year. It will change with the clients you're going after. But constantly be fine-tuning it. You know, one of the things about sales scripts is they're a lot like putting an ad in the newspaper. You put an ad in the newspaper to sell, let's say, a bicycle. And the first person who calls says, oh, what size are the tires? And you're like, I have no idea. So then you go out and measure the tires, or you look and see what it's labeled. Then the next person who calls, you say, so these are 26-inch tires. And they say, oh, is it a model this or a model that? How many speeds, right? So you start marking down all this information. And if you're smart, you'll actually go in and change the ad and list all of the things that answer the most common questions. And that way, when people call, they've already got all this information in front of them. Or you can just say, well, as it says in the ad, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the same thing with your sales script. Constantly be fine-tuning it so that you start out with all the good, juicy information that grabs people's attention and gets them to engage you in the longer conversation where the actual sale is going to happen. I hope you have an amazing and spectacular week. Make lots of sales. For the Cheeky Sales Coach, this is Karl Palachuk, wishing you all the best in everything you do. Call to action. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss a thing.